Okay, in the interest of time, I think, Ambika, we can start. Maybe,
Absolutely.
sure. So, Ambika, do you want to set the quick context in terms of Wisdom Series and our partnership with Vicky, and then I'll take it over.
Absolutely, Ashish. Firstly, a very warm welcome to everyone who's joined us
If you
today.
are going after a large market, you can imagine your position in it, and you have the right people to come along with you to make
Could
it
I
happen.
request everybody else to be on mute,
It's
please?
about
Yeah. So I think, as Ashish was just mentioning, so first I'll start with the introduction of Wisdom Club. We're a co-working space in GK2. It's a co-working space come cafe called Wisdom Club and Wiz Cafe. We opened in August 2019, just a couple of years back. But of course, it's not a place which just offers workstation solutions. But in the past, we've also hosted a lot of sessions and activities such as this. So we started doing these in an offline format at the club itself, but soon enough we switched to an online format because that was suitable considering the COVID situation. Because the idea is that the learning should never stop, and it's our way of community engagement and helping budding entrepreneurs and people who are starting off their entrepreneurial journeys. So that's the idea behind the sessions that we do. And every now and then we have people from the industry come and share their insights and views and help the attendees kind of move forward in their journey. It's an interactive session that we do, and this was the one we kind of wanted to host with Vicky as well, because of course there's a lot in common in terms of what we want to do with the entrepreneurs and people who are starting out their journeys. So this is the endeavor which we've kind of come up with, and hopefully it'll be a great session, and there's a lot to learn for all of us, and hopefully we'll be able to interact and engage with each other. Over to you, Ashish.
Thank you, Ambika. Thanks for taking time. So, I'm sure a lot of you, when you got this email with the session heading, which talks about how to multiply your traction, and especially in these COVID times, I'm assuming all of you are safe and healthy. COVID has taught all of us a lot, and I and Sumit kind of brainstormed, and we've been advising a lot of startups for more than a decade now. So we thought that what could be an interesting area for the entrepreneurs like you on the call to how to leverage the COVID scenario today. Can I request Sumit if you can just change the slide, and probably I'll introduce. Okay, before I start, I'll probably do a quick introduction of who am I. My name is Ashish Mittal. I advise start enterprises in innovation, strategy and scale. So basically alliance partnerships. I've been advising startups for over a decade.
क्या रहे रघु भाई
Can I request Puneet or
बस फर्स्ट क्लास आप सुनाइए
please
सही है
go on mute? Okay, thanks. Over 25 years of experience working with IBM, Oracle, Microsoft, Google. The last corporate engagement was with Google. So I helped set up the Google enterprise business. And now I actually work as advisor and mentor to a lot of startups on the board. I also run an early stage investment fund and what we call a startup factory or a venture builder called Turning Ideas Ventures. Turning Ideas Ventures is based out of Delhi, Noida, and primarily helps startups like yours in scaling, going global, corporate innovation, and some of those areas, and raising funds as well. And we also invest ourselves. Apart from that, I write for Economic Times on startups. Sumit, can you please change the slide? Okay, so I think there was a lot of deliberation around what we wanted to cover, but there are two or three important aspects which we want to focus on today. One, I'm sure all of you are going through some very difficult times in terms of sustaining your business or scaling the business. So the focus would be very much on the digital pieces today. How can you leverage digital technologies for building the traction and some sort of traction in your current business? So basically, it can be transformation. You can use any word, but essentially what we're trying to say is how can you drive scale and change your business, reach of your business to your customers and consumers. And I'm sure Sumit will talk more about it. Then what we also want to do is give you some high level bird's eye view in terms of some sort of a 180 day, next 6 months kind of a roadmap, priority roadmap in this journey. And when I say this roadmap, this needs to be very, very accountable in terms of what we achieve every month on month, or in terms of growth, and very, very clear questions which all of you need to ask, and those answers will actually take you into this journey. And finally, the most important piece is how do we actually implement. I think most of the consulting engagements, if you go to big four, any large consulting companies, they give you what to do. But what we want to do is how to do in terms of next 180 days, which is where we want to be your supporters. And I'm sure Fiki is doing some amazing stuff, helping you guys in navigating these times. So the objective here is, in partnership with Fiki and Wisdom, how do we actually tread this path or next 6 months, help you not only sustain but build the business from here. Okay, so the workshop is pretty much designed clearly for startups, and you can be at any growth stage. So you might be an early stage startup, you might have raised money, you are scaling up, you could be mid stage startup, or maybe late stage startup in terms of probably a scale up. That's what we say. Or entrepreneurs who are looking to harness digital business opportunities. What I mean by this is traditional entrepreneurs who have realized the importance of this. Can I request please to go on mute? Thank you. On digital. And finally, the third very important category is the business owners who are now trying to transform their business using digital tools. So these are three important candidates or participants we are expecting. So that's the intent. Sumit? Okay, so starting the first, and I want to see, this is not going to be a monologue, guys. So please, I expect this to be more of an interactive. We call it workshop and not a pure play webinar. So make it as interactive. If you have questions, please keep on putting on the chat box. So let's start with the first most important question. What do you think is the biggest challenge for startups today? And can you please start? Okay, I've got it, getting sales from Kailash. Good, Kailash. Can you all of you please market outreach from Smita? Please, I see around 100 people on the call today, and if you can, unless you put in your expectation, that will be brilliant. Marketing, finance. Okay, wow. Brilliant. I think considering what you guys are writing, just to, if you have to summarize this, broadly three major tickets. One is the outreach and sales. The second being how to become fundable. Capital is another important piece which most of you have written. And the third is market reach. So which is, again, I will club it under. So basically broad two buckets. How do I become fundable in terms of capital? How do I raise money? How do you actually increase money in these times? And secondly is the outreach. How do I increase my sales? How do I do a better market reach, and so on and so forth? Very, very important two aspects. And clearly these are the two most important aspects which you're going to cover. So I'm so glad to hear that the expectations, they are completely in line with what we intend to present. The next 60 minutes, what I'm going to ask you is ask as many questions as you have. Please use this next 60 minutes as an important exercise for you to go back and start using digital, because every day counts. So don't say that when the pandemic will go away and then that's the time we'll start, the businesses will be back. Right now, as we speak, businesses are still scaling. Startups are still scaling. We are an investment house ourselves. We invest in startups. We continue our investments. We have not stalled any of our investments. We are still looking at startups. We are getting pitches every day. So nothing has stopped. So clearly, I think there is money out there. There is capital out there. I think I'm going to talk about during the tail end of the presentation, what do investors look out in businesses after Sumit tells you about the outreach. So let's move on, Sumit, maybe. So almost every failed startup has a product. I am using the word failed because a lot of startups that did in COVID times, they came back saying that it looks like I'm failed and I don't know how to, but I have this very nice product. And I'm sure everybody on the call today has something or the else to offer, whether it's product in terms of an actual product, tangible product, or a service which is packaged as a product. But still startups fail. And all of you said the right answer. It's because of traction, which is the key. Let's can you guys again please go mute? Pankaj, can you go on mute? Can you please go on mute? Can you? Thank you. Okay. Sumit, can you move ahead, please? Okay. Investors fund traction. So guys, we if I look using my investors app, whenever I'm evaluating a transaction or whenever I'm evaluating a startup, I'm really not very concerned about two pieces. So what product you have offer, what I'm very bothered about is the current traction. Do you have a paying customer, or do you have customers at all who are actually using the product or service? And secondly, how is the team commitment? And we'll probably come back to you. So what we want to demonstrate today is how can you multiply your traction by over 3 times, which actually results in better chances of getting funded. I think which solves both your problems, the market outreach in terms of sales numbers, revenue numbers. A lot of you kind of use that term to actually from the expectation standpoint. And secondly, once you have market outreach, you are clocking numbers, you're clocking revenue, whether you're profitable or not, that's a different issue. We'll talk about it later. But clearly you have far more better chances of getting funded. Next slide, please. Okay, so let me introduce my co-host today, Sumit Kanu. Sumit is a very renowned entrepreneur himself. Sumit, why don't you actually give your background, and over to you to take the next part of the session, please.
Thank you, Ashish. Thank you so much. Very good evening to all the participants. My name is Sumit Kanu, and I've been an entrepreneur myself, and primarily started my career in management consulting. Strategy has been my practice domain, and for the last 15 years, I've been working with SMEs and startups, advising them on their next level growth journeys, helping them and guiding them, hand-holding them in achieving next level growth in their businesses. So this is what my primary focus area has been. And I've been working with Ashish in identifying startups for funding, helping startups to gain traction and growth, and raise funds is what me and Ashish have been doing the last couple of years. So that's about me. And I've been seeing your comments in the chat box about what the expectations are. So we try to structure the session accordingly to meet majority of the expectations. And towards the end, we would be happy to take up some questions related to the context of the presentation. So let's start the session today. So the first thing is, before we talk about how to build explosive traction that investors run after you to fund, let's first talk about what is traction. So it's a term coined in respect to startups primarily, that startups need to build traction to get noticed in order to attract investors, or to actually establish the viability of their business concept in the eyes of customers as well as investors. So what is traction? The basic definition that I would like to put across so that all of us are on the same page is it's a quantitative evidence of customer demand which investors value the most and derive their confidence.
Your voice is not audible.
Is it okay now? Hello? Is my voice audible to everybody? Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so traction is for traction to be valid, it has to be quantitative. It should be demonstrated with numbers. It should be fact driven, and it should be it should establish that there is customer demand for your product or your idea. So if you are able to do these three things, you have established traction for your business concept. And investors, whenever they value a Series A or B, Series A funding, they definitely look at this particular factor. So all those startups who are looking at going for funding in coming months, they need to work around this concept of traction. Even in the growth phase, you need for companies who are looking at uh, getting into a growth phase, will have to define how much traction would be enough for their new round of investors. So this is going to play a vital role if you're looking at scaling your startup and raising funds. So we will spend a good amount of time today talking about the imperatives around traction. So let's go from here. So what are the keys to build traction in the magnitude of 3x for your startup to attract investors? The first thing is that you should be making something that people want. I'll talk about it in detail in next few slides. The second thing is you should be marketing something that people want. And third one is scaling your business around the first one and two is what is the imperative for building 3x traction to attract investors. So let's talk about each of these things in a bit of detail. And so I have a question for all of you. Is that how many of you can confidently say that you're making something that people really want? Please type in yes if you think that you're very strongly confident that what you're making is you validated with people and you're very confident that this is what people want. I'm making something that people want. Okay, so almost everybody has written yes. So let's do a quick check. Let's do a validation check on this. So here's my uh, next set of questions to you, and I would like you to score yourself around these questions. So uh, if you have a system to track these 10 aspects around your customers, I will accept that you know you're building something that your customers are looking forward. So if you have answers to these 10 questions, questions are how and where your customer is starting a search for your product. Are you aware about that? Which places online, offline he visit before making purchase? Who influences his buying decision? What are his obstacles to buy? Why he does not buy your product? Why and when he buys your competitor product? You have a system to analyze and report these insights to your team. Do you review this information on at least monthly basis? Does your marketing and sales team use this data while planning their strategy or next course of action? And does your R&D or product team use this data while planning? So if your answer is yes, just give yourself a score of 1, and on a scale of 10, just give me a total score. So I would like everybody to do this exercise. Just go through these questions. If your answer is yes, give yourself, yeah, that's fine. Please go ahead. Take your time. This is a very important thing because this all those people who have actually written yes, I would request them to do this exercise to get a better overview on the question that are you making something that is really that your customers are looking forward. Okay, Shruti has got 8. Very good, Shruti. What about the rest? Sahil has got 8, 9. Okay, Mohit Bhatia has got 6. Very good. So, Saurabh, which is the one that you did not get? Which is the question for which you did not get the answer for? Saurabh. And okay, watch me. 7. Okay, so that's very good. So majority of you are upwards of 6, 7, and 8. Okay, so this is so what I would like to say here is that answers to these questions will give you a lot of confidence that you are trying to build up something, you're building something which customers are looking at. If you do not have answers to these questions, I would request that get these answers first. They might change the course of action for your product. You might, after finding answers to these questions, you may come across that what you're building requires modification, requires change in course. So going forward from here, so this is the first thing which I wanted to share with all of you. Next is there are also some tools which are there, which you can use to gather information on customers. So very simple tools are there. These are free tools. So one tool is keyword search, keywords everywhere. So I personally use it when I'm doing. So how I use it, I'll just give you a little bit information. I'll know about it. Uh, so uh, so uh, so what I've done is that I have so I have got a tool called, which is on the right hand side. As you can see, can I request Ashish, if you could mute yourself? Samantha, I think. Okay, thank you.
Sumit, your voice is not audible.
Is my voice audible to everyone? Please type in yes if my voice is audible. Yes, my voice is audible. I would request you to, Puneet, just check your microphone, please, or the audio on your system. That okay. Just a second, please. I think. Okay. Wisdom. Okay. So are you able to see the screen, everyone? Are you able to see the screen? Okay, perfect. So now what I've done is that I've used a Chrome extension tool, which is called Keywords Everywhere. So what this tool does is that whenever I'm doing a search, it starts showcasing me search trends around the keyword that I'm using. For example, if I'm using Fiki, or let's suppose I'm using, let's say, ventilators, right? So if I'm using ventilators, so this tool will find out that people who are searching ventilators, which are the keywords they're searching for. So types of ventilators. So so this information becomes valid, that what are people searching for around ventilators. So for example, if I am into selling of ventilators, if whatever is the product that I'm into, I can find out how are the search trends revolving around this product across a 7-day tenure, 30-day tenure, 3 months, 12 months, 5 years. So how is the search trends going on around this particular product? So this is a very simple tool which I've been using around for my research every time, in order to understand and find out keywords how people are using. So this is one thing that I've primarily used for my products. Another one which I've used is FIFO. So this is a relatively new tool. So it helps you understand your competitor's website in a better way. So it gives you a lot of insight around, let's suppose, if you build up a product like a video conferencing app like Zoom, and you want to understand how is this, so what is the stage at which Zoom is working on? So who are the organic competitors of Zoom? So I can find out that GoToMeeting is one of the most prominent competitor for Zoom. What are they doing? What is the share of keywords, paid keywords? Then I can find out which are the pages on Zoom that people visit most often. I can also find, if I'm looking at doing buying ads on Google, it will also give me some keywords around this. So it will also showcase me various ads of Zoom in order to understand how they are building and promoting themselves. So this top 10 keywords around Zoom, which are there, inbound links for my SEO. So these two tools give me a very quick analysis about my competition. I think, okay. So these are the two quick tools that I wanted to share with you, which I have been using personally to get information about my product and my competitors. So combining the questions that I gave you and the tools that I've shared with you, you can use this to understand where your customer is spending time and money. And what you need to do is, as we are passing through COVID phase, so the first thing that we need to do is adapt your business to the new reality of COVID. So it's not that every business has suffered losses during COVID. There are around 14% of large companies have increased both their sales growth and EBIT margins during COVID time. So there are companies who are clocking growth also, larger companies also. So why they have been able to do that? Because they've been able to adapt their business to the new reality of COVID-19. So the important point here is that if you're able to understand the changes in customer behavior to your product and are able to adjust your business model around those behavioral changes, there is a good possibility that you can figure out the growth model for your startup. For example, how to do that? How to identify growth opportunities? I'll take one example here. For example, let's take an example which is true for almost every case, every business, that your customers are spending more time at home. So this is a down because of fear. Now what has happened is that if they are sitting at home, these are the three things that they're doing: working from home, eating at home, and entertainment. So what you need to do is that so if we map the change in behavior around these three things, so if he's working from home, so he's not using traditional office spaces, he's not traveling. He's using home office spaces, which is so there is a potential increase in usage of home office spaces, leading to increase in refurbishments, equipment purchases, and digital coordination. So his spending around refurbishment, which is paint and flooring, has increased. So this category is bound to increase in COVID times in terms of revenue. Equipment, printers, desks, PCs, laptops, this category will also increase. Digital coordination, collaboration platforms like Zoom, Team are bound to increase. Bandwidth connectivity, people would be looking at better internet connectivity. So these services are bound to increase. Whereas traditional offices, commercial real estate, business travel community, airlines, mass transit system are all bound to decrease. So this example, which I wanted to explain, is that you would also need to map your change in customer behavior and figure out what are the potential spots of revenue increase or growth opportunities around this behavioral shift. For example, let me take this in a little bit detail also. So just take 1 minute and just think about that one big behavior shift of your customer and identify one growth opportunity. So
Sumit, just 1 second. I think, Sumit, your voice was becoming very feeble and muffled. So can I request, please fix your mic or be closer to the mic, because in between we lost you for pretty much 2-3 minutes. Now it's clear, but now it's okay. But I think if you can just retain the same thing. Thanks. Sumit? Sumit, are you there? Sumit, I can't hear you.
Yes, sorry, I was put on mute. Okay.
Sumit, your mic is creating some problem. Your voice get muffled.
Is it okay now?
Now it's okay, but I think you can retain the same setting. Background noise that start coming in your mic.
Is it better now, Ashish?
Now it's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
I think let's retain this.
So should I go back on this slide and explain it again? Hello. Okay.
Yes, please repeat.
So what I was trying to tell you is that the key to identifying growth is that you need to identify a change in customer behavior which is happening right now. So the first thing that I would urge everyone you to spot, no matter what product or services you're into. So what product or services you're into, you need to identify what is the change, the customer behavioral change, a major customer behavior change happening in your product segment. And around that, you need to identify a business opportunity or a growth opportunity. So I'll take one example. So this would be relevant for all the businesses, irrespective of the domain. So whether it is B2B or B2C, let's take so right now, customers are sitting at home. This is a generic trend valid all across the segments. So now what is happening that now when people are sitting at home, they are not using traditional office spaces. They are not using doing business travels. So these areas, the growth opportunities have declined. But home office spaces, the opportunities have started to evolve in terms of refurbishments, in terms of equipment like printers, desks, PCs, laptops. The sales have gone up. Refurbishment, paints, flooring, the investments have gone up. Digital coordination, collaboration platforms like Zoom, Team, the subscriptions are multiplying every month. Bandwidth connectivity, people are looking at better bandwidth connectivity, internet connectivities. As they're working from home. So all these areas are clocking growth, whereas the traditional office spaces, business travel, commuting is not are going down. So what you need to do is that follow a similar pattern which I'm showcasing on the screen right now, and figure out two things: one big behavior shift for your customer, and identify one growth opportunity. I'll explain this with an example. So one behavioral change, for example, your customer stays at home, doesn't go to office, is a behavioral change which has happened in last 1 year. So the growth opportunity around is that earlier you had to seek an appointment to meet him. Right now, he's more available for virtual interactions. So you need to figure out how you can engage him using digital tools. The second one is the customers now are always complaining about high prices. They're looking at more rigorous. Mrityunjay Bhattacharya, please mute yourself. Okay. So always complaining about high prices. So what it implies that if given value offering or trial offers, the conversions could be easier. Unsure about futures, so it is giving you a growth opportunity in terms to boost your brand recall, empathy calls to build up relationships with your prospective customers. So if a startup combines these two, behavioral change and growth opportunity, together and starts innovating to enhance value for customers, there is the newer avenues of growth can unfold. Is what I'm trying to imply here. So, for example, I'll take one example here. I'll take the example of FedEx. So, so FedEx conducted a similar kind of an exercise and figured out that as the information about the package is as important as the package itself. So in 1970s, FedEx was the first to put a computer readable serial number on every package. Very small innovation in order to track them and improve their internal package handling. So they in order to increase their customer value, they actually worked around building a tool and put a computer readable serial number, which could help them track their packages in a more efficient manner. So they did this innovation around customer value, and they decided to build a system to offer that information to their customers, because their customers wanted peace of mind about where the package was, at what stage the package was during the transit. So during those pre-internet days, you could call FedEx and ask them where your package is, and they, using this serial number, they could inform this. So right now, what has happened that they were the first one to pioneer this particular concept, which resulted in a huge market leader position for FedEx in the logistics industry. So this is one example which I wanted to share with you, that how innovating around generating a customer value can unfold growth opportunities for you. Another one, uh, I, so Rolls-Royce, apart from cars, also sells jet engines. So the model is for them was that they were selling their jet engines at a much lower margins, and they're creating their value. They're generating additional revenues through maintenance and service contracts. So what Rolls-Royce figured out that the airplane owners and airline companies care about is that besides the fundamental safety, they also care about the that is their engine working smoothly or predictably? Are there any unexpected downtimes which could result in delays and losses? So they figured out that their customer was looking at an enhancement at this area, right? So they aligned this entire aspect around their business models, and they created an offering called hours of operations instead of parts and services. So they innovated around this customer value and created this innovation. Today, around 80% of Rolls-Royce jet engines are supplied using this hourly fee model. So, so how do they do it? They have deployed around 5,000 plus sensors, and they generate around 10 GB of data per second. And they sell this data to the airline companies in it, along as a fee-based monthly subscription model, and generate a huge amount of revenue. So why are these two companies able to innovate like this? Because they started focusing on these two things which I'm telling you: the behavioral change and growth opportunity. So they linked a behavioral change with a growth opportunity. Their customers were looking at something like this, they spotted it, and converted that identification into a growth opportunity and innovated around it. So that is why FedEx could figure out a serial number as very simple uh, observation and discovery, but it changed the game for them. Similarly, Rolls-Royce was also able to figure out the behavioral change in behavioral pattern, and the customer identified a customer value and was able to innovate around it to entirely transform their business model. So these are two examples which I wanted to share with you. But once you start doing it, I would also like to warn you of not making a mistake like this. So what is this mistake? So this mistake comes from banking industry, banking industry. So what this mistake is, a company which was innovating around customer value. So they were doing a brainstorming in the bank. So the senior executive at the bank asked, what is the first step we need to take to transform? So a consultant like me told that first truly understand what customer wants. So very simple, very straightforward. Next part of the conversation is like 70% of our customers want a mortgage. So this is what the banking industry leaders spoke, that 70% of our customers want a mortgage. So the mistake here is that we don't think that customers actually want a mortgage because it's such an exciting product or an enjoyable experience. What they really want is a home. So are you able to spot the mistake that can happen around customer value identification? Are you able to relate to this example? Because this is a very basic mistake a lot of startups and companies do. When they start to innovate around customer value identification, they make these kind of very basic mistakes in identifying the opportunities, and the whole initiative goes haywire. So I would urge that, do remember this and example while you're doing your brainstorming to identify customer value for your business. Going forward around this, another point which I wanted to discuss is that innovations can happen all across the business, from corporate strategy to business process, customer journey, information and communication, applications and technology, even in compliance. So So I happened to have a discussion with an automation company last week. We discussed about it. They innovated around, so a lot of, so they started facing a problem in GST compliances. So this company uh, was not able to reconcile the GST payments. So this was creating a lot of issues with their vendors and them. So they innovated around it, and they created a tool in order to manage this more effectively, thus improving upon efficiency and also reducing their financial exposure. And third one, creating a seamless automated operations. So these innovations can not only are not something that can happen all across your business from anywhere. It can start from admin, it can start from compliances, application and technologies, customer journey, business processes. So entire so everywhere this kind of a improvement can happen, which can unfold growth opportunities for you. So this is one. Secondly, what we've done. So first thing what we've done is that making something that people want. So we covered how to adapt our business to create products in demand. The second we'll talk about now is how to market something that people want. So let's discuss this part now. So I'm sure that everyone would, so each one of you would be using certain marketing channels which are effective for your startup. So everybody would be using marketing channels. So which is the, please type in the preferred marketing channel for your startup in chat. Which is the most preferred marketing channel that you feel your, okay, Saurav Sharma is using LinkedIn, Kailash is using Instagram. Okay. Okay. Email. Sudipto is using email and phone. Okay. 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 FB. Okay. Majority of you are using social media tools, WhatsApp groups, all social media and email. So I'm going to be sharing some less heard, or in fact, some different marketing channels which you can consider, because we have a 90-minute session. So I would be sharing some of the less heard traction channels which you can utilize to build up your growth story. Right. So Suraj, I'm assuming that people who are actually participating in this know where their customers are. We can take it up if somebody has any queries around it. We'll be happy to take up at a later stage. Let's go from here. So let me share some of the things. First one which I wanted to share is, so me and Ashish were discussing about what if we are able to create a product that sells itself. How do you find this idea? If you are able to create a product that can sell itself, so why not think in this direction? Amazon, Netflix, Dropbox, Google all have gained traction using freemium offerings or trial packs model. So this is one traction channel which I wanted to share with you. So all of these people, all these players, all these companies have created trial packs or freemium offerings in order to gain tractions. So this is one area I would like you to think that, is there a possibility in your business to create an offer which is around freemium as a model, or for parts of your product? Maybe your product has certain features which you can give to the user to test and try, and then get addicted or hooked and become a regular user, and then you can charge a premium on the usage part. So majority of the companies around this, majority of the startups today are working on this major. Okay, so So this is the first thing that, so the point is that it's beyond POC. I'm talking about, Swati, I'm talking about creating a model which is just beyond proof of concept. I'm talking about making it at an integral part of your business model to gain traction. Satish, what is your product? Right. Zerodha is a very good example, which has type it in the chat. Satish, please type your answer in the chat. Junaid, could you please unmute yourself, please? Okay, right. So the second one which I wanted to talk about is community building. This is another very important. So if you look at Zomato success in India is around community buildup. Cred is building the same model to gain traction. So both these companies and majority of the companies are, before they even launch their product, they start building up a community using blogs. So blogs have been a very successful method to build up a community of your target group, target customers, by sharing information, engaging them with your brand. And once you launch the product, they become the early adopters to purchase your product or try your product. So this is a very widely used methodology around the world, used by startups to build up traction for their products or launches. So can you also think if your product has community building potential? So the third one which I wanted to share about is engineering as marketing. So this is something which HubSpot, companies like HubSpot used to gain traction. So what they did was HubSpot is basically a marketing automation company, which launched a tool called Marketing Grader. So they created a tool which could help provide marketing review reports for companies on their website. So companies could come, type in the URL of their website, and this Marketing Grader generated a report around how effective their marketing was, how ready they were for marketing. And a lot of companies registered for this tool, generating a huge traction for HubSpot. And all of these companies were potential customers for HubSpot. So this is one example of engineering as marketing, a tactic used by startups to gain traction. Another example which I'd like to put forward is Code Academy. So this is an education startup. So they launched a program called Codeyear. So a lot of people, so Codeyear was an initiative launched by them, in which they used to share coding lessons each week in the inbox of people who were interested in coding and programming. And using this simple tactic, they were able to generate get about 4.5 lakhs people registered with them to get access. Huge traction. And parallelly have a good community of prospective customers who are interested in or around their product. So this is another example which I wanted to share with you. So can you also think about a tool to get you similar kind of traction for your business? So this is one more example which was there. The fourth one is business development and partnerships. So in this, what I want to employ is there are various companies who look for example, Delicious. It is a social bookmarking site integrated, which integrations. So you might be seeing when you go to Zoom or you try to access Zoom, there is a section called integrations. So integrations, if you go to a section called integrations, you actually see a lot of tools available for you to integrate with Zoom. For example, you can integrate Zoom with MailChimp. You can integrate Zoom with any CRM software. So what are these CRM softwares or application companies are doing? They are trying to expand their reach by collaboration with Zoom or some other platform. So Delicious, which was a startup and social bookmarking site, collaborated with Washington Post and Mozilla browser and skyrocketed its subscriber base. So similarly, if you're able to identify right integration partners to join hands with, this can also give you a huge traction in terms of customer base. So this is the fourth method which I wanted to share with you, in which you can utilize to gain traction. So we can take up some case studies and we can take some examples. Okay, so let's take up something like Kaushal is talking how it will be implemented in real estate marketing. So which channel do you want to consider, Kaushal? Okay, safety smartwatches. Okay, so let me just complete the fifth one and then we'll talk about these specific case studies, and we can take up some of the examples from the audiences to talk about how you can actually implement this in your business. So the fifth one is affiliate or referral programs. This is another very good traction channel which you can consider for bringing growth to your startup. How does this work out? Dropbox, we all know when they're developing their product, that they figured out that their Google ads were coming out very expensive for them. So they were acquiring customers at $230 where their product cost was only $99. So this form of marketing was not working for them. So what they worked out is that they focused on creating a referral programs right into their product. They started giving referral discounts, they started giving referral incentives, and utilizing this so this strategy of theirs became a very good growth driver for them. So some of the world's best affiliate marketing platforms you can explore is Affiliate, Pepperjam, ShareASale. But there is also another alternative that is present, which is you can create your own affiliate program by simply building features in your product. Like for example, if you're actually selling a product or a service, you can build up a simple referral program for get 10% off on your next bill with each successful referral. If you have a monthly subscription, if your customer gets you another customers or gives you a referral, you can build up a referral incentive for him within your product and manage this using your subscription payments itself. So this is the fifth one which I wanted to share, called affiliate marketing or referral programs, is something that you can build in order to generate. The whole idea is that we are trying to collaborate, build up, tap into existing customer bases, which are huge, and trying to gain advantage from them. This is the basic core principle around which I've chosen and shortlisted all of these. So in COVID times, what we can do is that apart from the traditional channels where you need to pay upfront, majority of these channels you don't have to pay upfront. Now, as you plan traction, one of the things that I wanted to ask you is that what is the most critical asset you will need to get these traction channels correctly, or to build up tractions? So type in your answers in the chat. So what do you think are the most critical assets that you need to get? You need to do it right. Right target audiences. Okay, what else? Anybody? Keywords, right channel partners. Okay. Right keywords because it's digital. Next. Okay, correct messaging about products. So all of these things are, but in order to do all of these things correctly, there is a very basic, there are thing that you will need when you're trying to build up your business digitally. Marketing collaterals, good designers. Okay, let's take this up a little bit more in detail. Why of my business? Okay, so I'll take an example. Amazon, this is a very widely known example, but what I want to communicate can be communicated with this example. So Amazon collaborated with Warner Brothers 2011 and to produce original motion picture content. So my point here is, why do you think it made sense for Amazon to collaborate with a motion picture company? Where Amazon was an online retailer, why did Amazon collaborated with a movie company? Recently, they've acquired MGM. They've acquired rights for James Bond movies. Why do you think that they actually are doing all this? Why are they spending this much of money acquiring media houses when their core business is retailing? Credibility, domain knowledge, they have huge customer base, common, okay, customer success, customer telling about you, scope of expanding, awareness of brand. Okay, good. So what Jeff Bezos told is that when we win a Golden Globe, it helps us sell more shoes. So there is definitely a very strong relation between between video content and Amazon conversions. So because they have figured out that video content helps Amazon convert viewers into shoppers. So this is one big observation. So my point is, how did they get to know this? Is this something that, how could Amazon reimagine their retail business around entertainment content? What is it that they had in order to reach at this point to figure out that if we need to work around entertainment content to build up our business growth? What was that basic thing uh, that they had around which they were able to take this decision? Yes, Saurav, perfect answer. So data and customers are the real critical assets of any company which is looking at growth of possibilities. So if you really want to explore newer growth opportunities for your organization, you want your organization to be more adaptive, agile, and more flexible to the unforeseen circumstances, data and customers are the two things which need to be in full control of. You need to create systems in order to build up data within your organization and use that data as well. There are a lot of Excel sheets lying in your company which are never opened. So you need to work very closely in creating a system that this data is being utilized to take decisions is something that is very important. So whatever I've told you in last 1 hour, if you want to implement it, the fundamentals will start from data and customers. So you need to get full control on the insights from customers. You need to create a system to generate data. Combining these two things, you can explore n number of growth opportunities. So now we are entering a section called 180 Days Digital Growth Roadmap, and I would invite Ashish to take up this session. And I will, Ashish. Okay. Just a second, I'm making you host.
Thanks, Sumit. Thank you so much. I think it was fairly interesting. So I'm sure a lot of you got a lot of important aspects of traction being covered. When we started the workshop, I heard that there were two important aspects which we believed that are important for scaling your business. One was clearly the traction, which translated into the outreach, sales, revenue. And the other aspect is the capital, which I think a lot of you said, I want to raise funds. And being an investor hat, I thought it will be interesting to actually give you what we evaluate and what will it take for you to become fundable. And as part of that, what we thought was it will be interesting to probably run you through some sort of a very structured form of engagement where we say, okay, within next 180 days, we will focus next 6 months. Instead of you going out to the investors, how should investors start looking out for you or opportunities like you? In fact, we are being investors ourselves, we actually try looking for interesting businesses and startups who are fundable ready. So maybe let's talk about a bit of that in next 20 minutes or so, and probably then open up for Q&A. Sumit, I think I am not sure whether, can you just change the chart, please? Brilliant. So there are four key levers, and I and Sumit have been discussing, how do we compress this and make it very simple. I think while there are softer aspects, there are harder aspects which every investor looks for. But clearly, these are the four major levers which we look as investors when we are evaluating a business or when we get interested in it. The first and foremost, I think, guys, we kind of underestimate that a complementing team. When I say team, what it means is we are investors a lot of time would bet not only on the idea or the opportunity or the market size, but on the people who are going to execute that. So clearly, I think a lot of time you really need to find complementing resources or complementing members to be augmenting your current teams. So that is one growth lever. I think I call that as the biggest lever, because a lot of time we jump onto it and we think that we will do it, we'll be able to do it all by ourselves. But soon we kind of realize as we mature and move forward that we need complementing skills. Be it, if you come from a technology bag, you will probably you need someone to help you with the business, someone with the help with the marketing or finance and so on and so forth. So guys, beg, borrow, steal, probably convince your old friends or whatever, but create a team which you can vouch for, who can possibly execute any idea, if not this. So that is one key important lever. The second important lever, what I have seen missing in a lot of startup is the problem statement per se, or the validation of that problem. So I've encountered the startups where the startup kind of built on something which they thought, and quote unquote, they thought was important, and they continued investing and build a product around it. And after a point of time, they realized when they took the product to the customers, they said, no, this is not what we wanted, or I'm not ready to pay for it. So I think it's super, super important for you to first validate what you're trying to solve, identify what are possible solutions to that, and then come back to what what is that you want to build, rather than jumping onto the directly to the problem product and basically going to the customers. The third key aspect is the product itself. So most of the times we see early stage startups coming to us saying that, hey, I have this great idea, I validated this problem, I have customers who are ready to pay for it, but I want to build this. But when I want to build this, I don't have any money. So can you actually give me money to test this out? No investor wants to put in or bet their money on something which is untested. So clearly, guys, bootstrapping, identifying the problem statement, getting a solution, and getting even that one customer who is ready to pay for it, or even not pay, at least use it. That's the most important aspect. And the fourth important lever, I think Sumit also discussed, is the traction, which is how do you move from 0 to 1? How do you create a very structured plan in terms of give that visibility to whoever is going to fund your business or is going to invest capital into your business? How is that you can scale the business? How can you actually take the business from 0 to 100, 100 to 1,000, and then to 100,000? So that should be a very clear plan. And what do you need to actually execute that plan? So clearly what we realized was these are the four key levers. And we said that, okay, why not we actually create some sort of a 180-day plan for startups. So basically we said, okay, 3 weeks on each lever makes it 12 weeks. So 12 weeks, 2 sprints makes you 6 months. So basically objective is we do a first iteration of getting the first right team. If you don't have a team, so we start engaging with you to identify what kind of people you need to get. Most of the time, and this is a very important questions, most of the time you will have, that question, I can't hire an expensive resource. The rock stars come with a cost. How do you go and sell your vision to the people? How do you get a right advisory board? So maybe you need someone who's super experienced from the industry, but you can't afford that person, him or her. So how can you create some sort of board, advisory board, and invite some people honorarium basis? So the first and foremost, the first iteration or first lever for the first few weeks is identifying what resources, what assets you need to actually create a rock solid proposition, which can actually work on your idea or problem statement. Can you move to the next statement? And I'm not sure how many of you actually have a co-founder, but clearly I think a lot of times I've seen solo founders coming to me saying that, sir, I can't get a co-founder because most of the people ask for a lot of money and I can't afford that. So imagine if you can't sell your vision to one person, how is that you're going to sell it to the market? So I think it's super, super interesting to get someone beyond you to buy into what you want to build, be it with money, without money, with equity, with sweat equity, whatever be the case. The second is the problem validation, which I kind of spoke about. Is guys, I strongly believe whatever you do with some empathy. When I say empathy, it means whether you build creating napkins or tissues, or I saw products being created for chat collaboration, but you need to have a story behind it. Why do you choose to actually solve that problem versus thousands other problems which exist on the planet? So every investor actually looks for some sort of empathy, uh, or how does it relate to the founder. So you got to have that storytelling in place in terms of why are you solving this, why not any other problem, the world hunger problem, which is a far bigger problem, okay, versus creating an app for some solution. So that's the second bit, first identifying the right teams. The second lever, which is going to be next 6 weeks, is doing surveys with the customers, prospects, of saying whether do you think this is a genuine problem which requires a solution. If you think that this is a problem which you have, do you think which of the solutions would you actually go for? Do you want to do this digitally? Do you want to do this manually? Are you ready to pay for it? If you are ready to pay it, how much are you ready to pay for it? So these are important aspect, whether it's the idea, some people call it idea validation or problem validation, but most important critical phase. And I assume, I would request all of you to actually rethink about these four levers. Where do you score yourself currently on each of your businesses? Can you move forward, please? Okay, then is the product validation, I think, which we spoke about as well. So once you have converted the problem solution into some sort of a minimum viable product, that's all the investors want to see from the funding viewpoint, or that's all the marketing. Minimum viable product means that it is minimum to an extent that it can be actually a usable product. So don't just start creating screens and going out to the customers and saying, or to the investors saying that, hey, I have this is how the product would look like, but I don't have money to build it. So we as investors, or possibly the advisors too, look for products which are being usable. So minimum viable means it has to be a usable product with some sort of product differentiation or a competitive edge, which you should be able to articulate. Why is my tissues better than the others? Or why are my ventilators better than others? Or we talked about my teleconferencing and collaboration. I was going through some of the people mentioning their lines of business. The fourth important aspect is product market fit, which is what we discussed at the idea validation also. You can't sell it to the entire world. So you really need to identify which market I'm going to chase, and is this product ready for that market? Do we have customers in that market? Do we have a price proposition in that market? Or do I need to tweak the product, pivot the product to ensure that this is the problem statement addressed in this one? So clearly, if someone asks, where are you, what is your target market? You should be very, very clear. You should be able to say, okay, I'm looking for enterprise business less than 50 crores in this demographic with this problem, and so on and so forth. So that's, I think, Sumit also touched fairly well on that when he was talking about traction. But very important point from the product validation, which is an important lever to become fundable ready. So my strong suggestion is, after we're done with this, so please do a quick check on each of these for your, I think I saw Swati writing about the AI analytics. So we'll probably talk about that in terms of traction too. So going forward, can you please see the chart? Is it traction? I think which Sumit covered very extensively, which is our fourth lever in the first iteration. So we do 2 iterations of 3 months each. The first iteration, the fourth lever is the traction, where how do we move from 0 to 1, which is how do we actually get the first 10 customers, first 100 paying customers, 100 to 1000 paying customers. You got to be very sure in terms when you define your market, when you're doing the product market fit, how big is that market? Investors are only keen to invest in businesses which have huge potential of growth, because we invest in visions, we invest in growth, we invest in scale. So I don't want to invest into a business which is super hyper local, which sells only in Noida. Okay, I have a product which only caters to Noida. Maybe I'm not very interested, because I know I'm trying to address a very limited market. So identifying the market and gauging the market size are two important levers. Again, talking about the GTM, go to market, whether it's the product, alliances, partnerships, a freemium offering. We talked about multiple levers. I think Sumit covered that fairly interestingly. That's our fourth lever, where Sumit and I, work with startup in terms of how do we scale it to the next level. Okay, next one, please, Sumit. So here is what we have for all of you. Because this is done with FICCI, so as an exclusive invitation, all of you can apply, and I'm going to paste a link. I'm pasting a link in the chat box. This is a form where you can apply for this entire 180-day exercise in partnership with FICCI and Wisdom, where we will actually mentor you at no cost. Mind you, at no cost. We do this as a consulting advisory, but here we're going to take no cost from the 3 shortlisted startup from today's session. So please invite, we will do our due diligence, understand whether you meet the criteria of all of them, and ensure that in the next 6 months you will be fundable or funding ready. Okay, I have got Lalit raising his hand. Lalit, can you please put on chat box what is the question? So we've got 100+ people today. So please submit your details on the form with what you're trying to do, what you're trying to build, what problem you're trying to solve. We will do our due diligence. Sumit and us will probably come back to you on the final 3 opportunities which you can actually, we'll work with them. That's no cost. Oh, Lalit is saying, can we get investors? We are already in the market. Do write to us, Lalit, at this email ID, and we will be happy to evaluate your business. I think we have it on the chart as well. Now we are open for Q&A. We left with 10 more minutes. If you have any specific questions, please feel free to put it on the chat window. I encourage, I think we've already written, please follow our Wisdom handles and FICCI or social handles to get a most updated news. And please paste a screenshot on chat window. And I think Ambika has some winners announcement today. Anything the FICCI team wants to actually add to? Okay, I'll just pass the host back to just. Yeah, Sumit, you can unmute it now.
Thank you. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. We'll be happy to take up questions. Any questions around captions? Any questions around aspects of the presentation? If you have, please.
Anything else, you guys think that you would like us to, or Fiki team or Wisdom team to address? So I think Lalit mentioned about you're looking for funds for raw materials and machinery. So just a quick caveat there, Lalit. So there are different type of funding when you raise capital. You raise it for traditional businesses and you raise it for disrupted businesses. Startup investors are typically very keen on disruption, which is hockey stick growth, where you can actually show exponential growth in a short span of time. They're not very keen on traditional growth, where you have additional funding channels like debt financing, or if you want to do equity route, there are other Mudra and few other banks who actually do that. But clearly, they look for disruptive growth, which can be in form of in any specific innovation. So I think I've got Watch Me asking about crowdfunding options. Fairly well interested. I think crowdfunding is increasing day on day in India. I think there are platforms like Let's Venture and multiple others who are there. But you really need to figure out when you look for a crowdfunding, uh, it needs to be more of a B2C product, which people can relate to. And from the legality standpoint, it is more difficult to maintain from operation standpoint because you have multiple people on the cap table. Okay. Uh,
Priti is asking, we've just started with manufacturing of tissues, facial tissues, tissues, and so on. How can we implement it? Okay, Priti, who's your target customer? Who's your customer? Can you just write in your target customer? Priti, can you please write down your okay hotels, houses, and families? So let's look at. So if you pick up hotels presently, I in COVID times, I think the purchasing propensity has decreased to very low. Houses and families would be a target area. So I think what you need to work out is you probably need to figure out traction channels which could help you reach out to them directly as of now for next 6 months. So your traction channels and your growth opportunities should lie down upon communicating a good story around your facial tissues and kitchen tissues.
Sumit, there's a lot of background noise.
Is it at my end or somebody else?
It's on your end. I think it's from microphone. Yeah, go ahead, please. Sumit? Sumit?
Yeah, sorry, I was muted.
No worries.
Okay, so Briti, a good way to start building traction for your business would be around building up a good story around your products and figuring out communication channels. So what I would say is that for you, the best would be exploring collaborations. So out of the 5 channels which I actually shared with you, is that start exploring collaborations with companies who are in similar domain. So affiliate and referral programs could be there. Work out on business development partnerships program. This could work very effectively for you. Apart from that, I think the community building may not be relevant. Trial packs may be relevant. Trial packs and partnerships model can work very good for you in your case. So explore these 2 traction channels. I'm sure that you can get good results out of it. We provide Arvind, we provide an online platform sports tournament organizers to organize any scale of sports events, and we are aiming to be on. Okay, so I think I would recommend for you, Uma. Again, I would recommend the partnership channels. This will work. This can work very effectively in your business case. Second is work out on engineering as marketing. So something like online contest for people to get engaged with your platform. create a tool which sports tournament organizers can utilize in order to get better enrollments from players. You can give this tool to them for free, which they can utilize. So in this way, they will develop better engagement on your platform. You will become a default preference for them, and this will also help them in increasing their reach. So probably I'll give you an example. Amex. What Amex did on social media, if you go to Amex Facebook pages, you find that they share a lot of information with small and medium enterprises about how to do effective email marketing, how to do effective digital marketing. Why is Amex doing all of these things? Amex is doing all of these things because by doing this, Amex is building an engaged community around their brand name to whom they can sell their cards. It's that simple. So I'm using this example to demonstrate you how you can use community building, engineering as marketing, and collaboration platforms to gain traction for your business. Right. Okay. Kailash, Tulsi, Gajara, online marketplaces for handmade products. Kailash, for you, referral model or affiliate model can take you to next level of growth. Figure out something, and this works very well. Traction, referral models, affiliate and referral programs work very beautifully and very effectively on for e-commerce marketplaces. Right? StanShare, we're sharing platform with a focus on 8 dimensions of wellness. Okay, sharing platform. Okay, I'm not able to understand what is meant by sharing platform. If you could just elaborate, I'll be happy to take up this case as well. Okay. So,
I think Rahul, you've written a CPG, brand access at the right point of sales in both digital and physical world. So it'll be very interesting because I think CPG has, I think clearly we're seeing a lot of traction building up in CPG startups around retail and distribution channels. So direct to customers, those kind of interesting propositions are arriving. So I think COVID has kind of proved you, if you use digital fairly well, CPG at last mile distribution will be very interesting proposition.
yes, Vinod, so StanShare, okay, peer-to-peer sharing. So for you, StanShare, if you could work out. So I would say that for you, all the 5 will work very nicely in peer group. So affiliate and referral programs will work very nicely. Then partnerships you can do with people in the same cohort or same interest groups. Community building can work wonders because you're working in the health domain. So StanShare, I think you can work around, you can utilize at least 3 of the 5 channels that I've shared today and utilize them in your business to gain traction. They should work.
Dr. Nair, I think you have very interesting questions. Anyone has come across any tool that helps person to check the feasibility of that? Clearly, there is no tool. We ourselves are called turning ideas. We evaluate every idea that comes to our inbox manually in terms of the feasibility of execution, in terms of customer uptake, real visibility. I think you got to speak to real people to check on the visibility of what you're trying to solve. Is it worth solving?
Kailash, you can write to me. I feel that there is a good opportunity for growth for you. Handmade products, the growth is there. The trends are promising.
Okay, I think Rajul has written for agri-tech, B2B. Very interesting opportunity, Rajul, for you. IoT, agri-tech are emerging areas. Clearly seeing, I think what you need to figure out is monetization aspects and some challenges around last mile. So again, I think coming back to the one of the channels, I think business partnerships and alignment with some of the farmer unions and people like IFCO and others would be very interesting to understand how do you take these solutions to the end market.
Also, I would like to add one more thing. I'd like to give you an example. So John Deere was into tractors. So I'll take up this case study. So what they did was that through their social media platforms, and they created a very targeted marketing plan to connect with farmers. And they started guiding them on how to use technology, how to use their tractors to improve their production. So they used to create 2 to 3 minutes videos and used to post them. So what I would rather suggest to you is that you can utilize WhatsApp as a channel platform in order to reach out to the end users. So if you're targeting B2 customers like corporates, what you can actually showcase them, you can reach out to them using the business development and partnership traction channel, which I discussed about. And if you're looking at reaching out to the end users, uh, uh, you can utilize knowledge as a base to build up traction and engagement with your end consumers.
I think, Satish, to your question about whether we would be interested in core technologies, such as industry walls and allied automation, absolutely yes. I think that's at the end of the day, manufacturing is getting a massive momentum. But I think what we are always interested in disruptive and innovation in those segments with the ability to scale. So to answer you, yes, we would be interested, but yeah, there has to be disruption and innovation into what you're trying to do. I saw Iram saying your waste management ecosystem, very, very interesting. SWM in specific, solid waste management is something which is getting massive traction, not only in India, but globally. Smart cities are in the way. So if you can align with some of those in terms of what you can do with waste management and smart cities together, very interesting proposition.
Okay, Rakshaka Kavach, I think watch me. My suggestion to you is that why don't you develop a free app for people to experience what your smartwatch provides? Give them and provide this experience to them, and once they start appreciating their experience, the experience, they will definitely go and buy your watch. So something like engineering as marketing is something that you can explore.
We
You
know
don't have
there
to
is no specific date by which you have to fill the form, but I think the earliest you do it, even if you don't have the pitch, maybe you can put in some basic stuff and then you can revise it. But in case we like your idea, we can give you enough more time.
watch me. You don't have to do the whole experience correctly. Pick up one or two things which are really which can really make people engaged with your brand name. Rest of the things will happen automatically.
Mr. Banerjee, about the corrosion-proof rebars at low cost, I think I like the concept of low cost rebars. I think what again it's something similar to what I spoke earlier. The only thing is there has to be some innovation and ability to scale, which can actually drive this more as a startup. Ritu, I think as already stated, you can ask your son to actually fill the form and send us more detail, and we'll see if we can evaluate to support him. Tushar, I think the cancer biomarkers, oncology is one interesting field where there's a lot of innovation happening in the health tech space. Check out for a company called Core Diagnostics, which is actually looking for oncology based startups for investment. If you have something very interesting on the biomaker space, we'll be happy to evaluate. Okay, guys, so we are already over 4 minutes of time. Thank you so much for making time. Thanks a lot, Sumit,
Thank you.
agreeing to be co-host, and thanks to the FICCI team for organizing this, to Wisdom for executing this beautifully. And I hope that everybody on the call got what they were looking for and hope to get connected. Please feel free to reach out to us, either Wisdom, FICCI, me, or Sumit. You already have our connects. And my email address is ashish@turningideas.com, and Wisdom and FICCI, I'm sure you all have connects, and so is Sumit's at achievement.com. It's there. So feel free to reach out to us, and we will be happy to take your a very good evening to all of you, and thanks for all of your time.